Hello anybody, I'm Don Pollock and welcome to another look back at the history of my world. Today we have a request from a friend and a former colleague who worked at the station with me, Eric Schoenfeld. He was a producer with whom I shared a sort of similar skewed view of the world, and he wanted to see a story that we did from a continuing series that attempted to answer some of the puzzling questions that we never seem to find the answer to in our culture, in our society. You know, questions like, why do you never see baby pigeons? Or, you know, why are there holes in donuts? You know, the kinds of earth-shattering questions that I've seen particularly, suited to try and find the answer to. Anyway, the name of the series was Funny You Should Ask, and I think the reason that Eric requested it was because he played a prominent role in the series. His voice was the booming, echoing voice of the signature graphic of the series Funny You Should Ask. Anyway, I'm happy to show one of them to you right now. It's one of his favorites and one of mine too. Take a look.
In England, they're called roundabouts. In Canada, they're rotaries. And for everyone in New Jersey, they're
a great big pain in the...
But indeed, there is nothing else that generates quite as much driving excitement for Garden State motorists than New Jersey's notorious traffic circles. Suddenly plunging unsuspecting drivers into chaos that seems like a legal automotive roller derby. Which is the whole basis of a question that's been puzzling Richard Chilelli of Haddonfield, who writes, "Whenever I drive through a traffic circle in New Jersey, I feel like I'm taking my life into my hands. No one seems to follow any kind of traffic laws. Cars are zipping by every which way,
cutting me off left and right. What I want to know is, who has the right of way in these things? Does anybody know?"
Well, Mr. Chilelli? Honey, you should ask. Well, as unbelievable as this sounds, the reason the circles seem like a highway free-for-all is because that's just about what New Jersey traffic laws make them.
Well, really, there is no law pertaining to a traffic circle. It's considered an uncontrolled intersection. Actually, it's 4 intersections, and basically the first car into the intersection has the right of way. If 2 vehicles reach the intersection at the same time, you're supposed to yield to the vehicle on the right.
Something that obviously came as a surprise to this fellow, and to hundreds of others like him just last month in Cherry Hill alone.
Each one of these dots represents a motor vehicle accident. The circles are very easy to spot. You just look for the biggest pile of dots. The idea when they were designed was good because you come down the highway, you didn't have to stop for a red light.
Unfortunately now, the 49,000 cars that go through them every day seem to be about 48,000 more than they were built to handle back in the 30s. And when many of them come barreling into the circle at 50 miles per hour, they sort of win the right-of-way by TKO.
If you've got any common sense, you're going to yield the right-of-way to them, or you're going to end up one of these dots on the map here. Unfortunately, the guy with the oldest car, the most beat-up car, the oldest truck, the biggest truck, he has the right of way.
Which means when it comes to driving around a traffic circle, there really isn't any problem at all. It's just a matter of driving the right kind of vehicle. This is Don Pollock, Channel 6 Action News in Cherry Hill.
Now that story is a perfect example of what can happen when serendipity meets enthusiasm. I mean, one of the things that I loved most was when the people I was doing the story with got so enthused and were having so much fun helping me out putting together a story that things like this could result. Because I remember we got all the principal filming in that story done. You know, the traffic circle, the interviews, everything we needed. And I was standing there trying to figure out, you know, a way to wrap it up. Or as my friend Eric would say, you need a slam-bang Sacco close. Great. Not too much pressure there, you know. Anyway, the policeman who was helping us with the story, the one who said that the one with the biggest person with the biggest truck has the right of way going through the circle, he said, you know, it'd be cool if you could show a tank going into the traffic circle. And I said, well, yeah, that would be cool. That'd be a great close. And he goes, well, there's a National Guard armory right around the corner. They got a tank. I go, what? I wasn't familiar with the neighborhood, so I go, really? Literally half a block from where we're standing, there's a National Guard armory. They've got a tank. He's friends with the guys. He goes over there. He says, hey, you guys want to help out? Want to bring the tank out for a spin? We're going to put it on TV. We're going to have a good time. Everybody was so excited that I swear to God, within 10 minutes, a tank is on Route 38 The traffic is all blocked off by the police crew of Cherry Hill, and we're ready to get the shot. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was, if I had tried to go through the proper channels, if I had thought of this idea ahead of time and tried to go through the proper procedure of getting, you know, having a tank and a shot, I would have had to go through 25 levels of government bureaucracy all the way up to the Department of Defense, and you know, it would have taken weeks. This way, like I said, within 10 minutes it was out there on the road, fired up, ready to go. So I got in, I said whatever I said, you know, you got to have the right kind of vehicle, and I went down the hatch, and I got out right away because it's a tight squeeze in there. There was no reason for me to be in the tank when we got the shot of the tank rolling down the street. But anyway, we get the shot, and it worked out wonderfully. It led to another question, like, why did the Pentagon think that it was necessary to have a tank stationed in suburban, middle-class Cherry Hill, New Jersey? I mean, what were they anticipating happening that would require, well, it doesn't really matter because it was there. We got the shot. I'm sure the guys were just sitting around. It was lunch hour. They were probably playing cards, bored. And when they had the chance to play with the tank for a few minutes, they were having a great time. And besides, I'm a taxpayer. You know, I mean, I should be able to try out the equipment once in a while, right? Anyway, it just goes to show you what you can accomplish when you appeal to the mischievous third grader that resides in all of us. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that story. You can see this and other stories from the history of my world on my YouTube channel, Don Pollock's World TV. You might want to check that out when the boss isn't looking, you know what I mean? You'll have a few minutes of fun. I mean, that's when I do these things, when the boss isn't looking. Anyway, I'll be back with another look at the history of my world next week. I'm Don Pollock, and I'll see you then.